Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our brand new study in the Philosophy of Theism by Borden Parker Bowne. The larger triad for Bowne is metaphysics, ethics, theism. So we've looked at his metaphysics, we've looked at his ethics. 10 years after those first two manuscripts, he wrote a Philosophy of Theism as the third moment of his triad, larger triad, and it was published in 1902. Remember, 1892 was the Ethics. 1902, he published Philosophy of Theism, but it is an extension of an already defined metaphysics and an already defined ethics. And we're going to be taking a look at, it's about a 270-page manuscript, and it does begin with what I consider to be a powerful introduction, a very comprehensive, systematic introduction from pages 1 to 41. We're going to take a look at that introduction and kind of get our first look at what his intention is with this manuscript. But keep in mind that our past studies have looked at his metaphysics, then we looked at his ethics, and the natural progression for Bowne is to go from metaphysics to ethics to theism. And you'll see that especially in block 2 of this lesson. But let's begin with block 1. Let's take a look at the explanation, satisfaction, and representation. We begin with religious consciousness. 3 questions must address religion: source of religion, genesis and history of religion, and foundation of religion. Now, source is impulse. We must look within the mind itself to move beyond the idea of sensate object to religious object. The mind must be endowed with more than sensation. Speculative thought can criticize and clarify religious ideas, but not be the origin of religious ideas. Bowne then gives us the axiom, no external action can develop an empty mind. We must assume a germ of a religious impulse in the soul that makes religious development possible. That is a fundamental assumption for Bowne. This religious impulse must be stimulated by outer and inner experience, and critical restraint by the intellect and conscience must also be employed. So it begins with kind of a potentiality of a religious impulse that must be stimulated. And he says that stimulus of impulse includes these 5. It includes sensation, intellect, conscience, affections, and revelation. All of those are stimuli that will stimulate the religious impulse. Then he looks at history and proposition formation. Religious propositions are determined by a consideration of content and intentionality. And then, rational foundation for the theistic idea. We need to fix the worth of theistic consciousness to understand the data of religious consciousness. The theistic idea as experience-based is in note 2. There is objective explanation. Theism is posited as a hypothesis for the explanation of phenomena. There is subjective satisfaction. Theism is posited as satisfaction of the entire human nature. There is representation. Theism is posited as the gathering of ideals, the gathering of values, the truth, beauty, and goodness. The grounds for the theistic idea are manifold, in other words, and include the intellectual, the emotional, the aesthetic, and the ethical. So our conclusive note here, in block 1, note 3, religious consciousness and concrete theistic idea equals a methodology of discernment that Bowne will employ. First axiom, doubt nothing until we are compelled to doubt. Second axiom, assume the truthfulness of the universe and our own nature. Third axiom, man is will, conscience, emotion, and aspiration. The notion of practical unfolding of the theistic idea must next be addressed. So we've taken a look at the theistic idea as explanation, as satisfaction, as representation. Now we have to look at practical unfolding in Block 2. And this is the key moment for this lesson. Block 2 is the key moment here. Practical unfolding of the theistic idea. Ideal theoretical construction. Theoretical science equals the working over of sensate experience to meet mental necessities. We posit that things fall into fixed classes, they are subject to fixed laws, and they are integrated into rational system. And we posit that nature is comprehensible by humanity, therefore we construct an ideal universe of the intellect. And so for Bowne, note 2, the real is made over sensation. The mind makes over sensate experience. We end up with a duality of sensate phenomena, remember phenomenology, and real universe, sensate phenomenology and real posited universe. As our foundation for this construction, we must address the interest of the cognitive nature. We move on to interest to reach the practical unfolding. Interest is that which transitions us out of the theoretical. So note 3, development of cognitive nature or state of mind in its 7 aspects of development. So what are the 7 aspects of development? Interest. We begin with interest of the cognitive nature. Positing, we project our subjective interest upon nature through practical wisdom. Intelligible. The real is perceived as an intelligible universe. Necessary. Our understanding is a necessity to the facts themselves. Tendency. The mind contains both interest and tendency. Eidos ideas. The mind acquires a series of eidos ideals that are formed into a theoretical system. Order. We posit nature as ordered and discernible. An ordered and discernible system. There's your 7 aspects of this practical unfolding of theistic idea. It's through interest, positing, being intelligible, a necessity. It includes tendency, not just interest, but also tendency. It is a gathering of the eidos values or eidos ideas, and it is systematically ordered. So, note 4, the concept of system as central to practical unfolding. As a harmony and structured according to rational law, this order is maintained by eternal reason. Then the concept of moral ideal emerges. Now you see where he's going here. He's taking you through metaphysics and ethics to get to theism. I'll begin again on that note 4. There's a harmony and a structure according to rational law. This order is maintained by eternal reason. Then the concept of moral ideal emerges. Ethics. System must be rational and righteous. Next emerges the concept of religious ideal. Intellect plus conscience equals religious ideal. Out of this emerges the concept of one perfect being. That's your core truth to this introduction. Block 2, note 4. Block 2, note 4 is your pivotal truth. We look at system as a structured harmony based on rational law, maintained by objective eternal reason. There's your metaphysics. Then the concept of moral ideal emerges, and then Bowne teaches the principles of ethics. System has to be rational and righteous. System has to be phenomenology and metaphysics and ethics. Next emerges this manuscript, the concept of religious ideal. intellect and conscience equal religious ideal. Out of this emerges the concept of one perfect being. That's the larger triad within which Bowne creates his philosophy and his theology. That's the larger triad. We move from metaphysics through ethics to theism. And of course, for Bowne, theism finds its most authentic expression in living religion, which is Christianity. But now let's take a look at Block 3, the process of inner cognitive development and ethical positive adjustment equals religious objective rectification. So we've got that cognitive development in explanation, satisfaction, and representation, coupled with adjustment at the practical level when we define the practical unfolding of theistic idea through this stirring of our impulse by interest, positing, intelligibility, necessity, tendency, eidos, ideas, and order. Then that brings us to objective rectification of theism. So let's take a look at Block 3, Note 1, Logic as Providing Propositions. Cognition, ethics, and religion are all an outgrowth of subjectivity, and they are evoked by our total experience. This outgrowth is realized through practical positing. It has to pass through obligation and realization. It has to become practical positing. It has to become phronesis and praxis. There are three classes of propositions: theoretical, which demand belief; practical, which demands some negation and affirmation both at the practical level; and dialectical, which may be posited. That which may be posited is that which is valuable in life and conduct. And we learned in its ethics what that was all about. It was moral insight, obligation and systemization, and then the dialectic of righteousness, as you remember in our previous study. So we know what that is. We know what that is. So, note 2, the posited real. The realm of positing is the realm of the real. The theoretical must transition to addressing the demands of practical life. We seek to prove the theoretical because we hold it as belief. Belief is also influenced by conviction, which includes emotion, sentiment, and aspiration. Therefore, conviction or state of mind always varies. Cognition plus conviction influence state of mind. And Bowne has something very important to say about state of mind here that I think we'll really appreciate. So, note 3, logic of belief and posited reality equal developing state of mind through demonstration. I think this is a very important note here in Block 3, 3.3. Demonstration of belief relies on some element of assumption. Truth exists externally in its own right. Demonstration leads us to the visualization of the posited real. Demonstration, this is your key note, demonstration is addressed to state of mind in order to develop it. That's a critical statement here in the introduction. Demonstration is addressed to the state of mind in order to develop it. Theoretical cognition transitions to practical cognitive interest and then to the dialectic of manifestation. So in ethics he calls it the dialectic of righteousness. In theism, he calls it the dialectic of manifestation. Now, under the dialectic of manifestation, this dialectic is our proclamation of faith. We seek response in other minds. Our proclamation of the real must be demonstrated. The concept of God becomes the foundation of life as practical certainty. Theism becomes a certainty of life. It's a living category, a living concept. Three conclusions from Bowne. Affirmation. The subjective necessities of thought correspond to the objective necessities of being. Negation. Atheism fails to give any rational account of the facts. Positing. Theism is posited as a solution to the problem forced upon us by the Word and by life force. This is an incredible introduction. Of course, Bowne is always systematic, and he is a scholar select choice by publishers because he is a notable Christian philosopher and theologian. And this work is going to be just as profound and powerful as his metaphysics and his ethics. We can already tell that. But if you just really concentrate on Block 2, Note 4, and Block 3, Note 3, you're going to be able to really grasp the central truth of this introduction. So let's look one more time at Block 2, Note 4. The concept of system is central to practical unfolding, as in harmony and structured according to rational law. This order is maintained by eternal reason. Then the concept of moral ideal emerges. System must be rational and righteous. Next emerges the concept of religious ideal. Intellect plus conscience equals religious ideal. Out of this emerges the concept of one perfect being. Then go down to Block 3, Note 3. Demonstration of belief relies on some element of assumption. Truth exists externally in its own right. Demonstration leads us to the visualization of the posited real. Demonstration is addressed to the state of mind in order to develop it. We are addressing the state of mind through phronesis and praxis. We address state of mind. Remember, return moment is a return to state of mind. We address state of mind through phronesis and praxis. Theoretical cognition transitions to practical cognitive interest, and then to the dialectic of manifestation, which runs parallel to the dialectic of righteousness in ethics. So that gives you a beautiful encapsulated view of the entire project of this manuscript. This introduction, in just 40 pages, Bowne gives us true gold here. This is a tremendous introduction. But that's going to wrap up pages 1 to 41. And next we move into Chapter 1. This was just the introduction, but it is going to be a great foundation upon which we will build.